Well, Erica, we do know the FBI and local law enforcement officials are investigating this series of incidents that took place Tuesday night and Wednesday morning at the homes of several potential members of President-elect Trump's new cabinet. Now, a spokeswoman for the Trump transition is telling us that several potential nominees were targeted in what they call violent, un-American threats, ranging from bomb threats to swatting incidents. Of course, those are when police are summoned under the hoax of some type of criminal threat at a particular address. Now, of course, this comes at a time of highly charged partisan politics. These types of threats have been frequently reported to high-profile individuals of all ideologies. But Lee Zeldin, a former New York congressman who's Trump's choice to lead the Environmental Protection Agency, said he and his family were targeted by a pipe bomb with a pro-Palestinian themed message. But none of the other officials elaborated on the nature of their threats. Now, we do know that federal officials are investigating. In a statement, the FBI said this: "It is aware of numerous bomb threats and swatting incidents targeting incoming administration nominees and appointees, and we are working with our law enforcement partners. We take all potential threats seriously." Now, it's unclear if all of these incidents are linked and how credible these threats actually were. But the timing certainly suggests some type of coordination heading into the Thanksgiving holiday. Erica?
Jeff, appreciate it. Thank you. Also with me, Andrew McCabe, who of course served as Deputy Director of the FBI. So set the stage for us here, if you will. Just how common or not are these threats? Does it surprise you at all?
Erica, it doesn't surprise me at all. This has become a very, very common aspect of life for really anyone who is in a high profile or even remotely controversial position. It's been going on for years. It presents the same challenge to law enforcement each time someone engages in it. They probably know 90% sure that these threats as they come in are worthless, they are hoax, there's nothing to them, but they can't take the risk of not responding on the off chance that one real threat gets through. So they've developed all sorts of tactics to try to respond to these targeted locations, but in a way with something less than actually sending out a SWAT team or a massive armed response. They've gotten quite good at it. It's something that really, is levied on the shoulders of local law enforcement. The FBI comes in at times to help investigate who might be behind these, but it's really our local law enforcement folks that bear the burden of it.
So the fact that you said they're 90% sure that a lot of these are hoaxes initially, they can tell pretty quickly. How quickly, though, can they determine where the threat is actually coming from?
That's much tougher, right? Because anyone with even rudimentary internet skills can communicate these threats in ways that are pretty anonymous. There are different tools and aspects of the dark web and other cyber tools that you can use to send in emails or phone calls to entities in a way that will not leave a trace of where you are. So they can be very hard to follow up. To be clear, these are crimes. Sending these false threats into law enforcement are specifically prohibited by law, but it's very hard to find the folks behind the threats to follow up with prosecutions.
In terms of what we do and do not know about these threats, the fact that you're not that surprised by it, is there ever a concern about making these threats public and how that could potentially encourage people?
I think there's always that concern. And speaking as someone who has received these threats in the past, you go through a process where you feel like maybe I should keep this as low key as possible because you don't want to give someone else the idea and then they follow up with it. But ultimately, that's up to each individual targeted. It seems like many of the folks who receive these threats today, many of the transition team members or newly designated nominees have decided to become to be public about it. I think that's probably a bold and courageous choice and one that hopefully will bring more attention to this sort of material.
Well, on the topic of safety concerns, there are some government workers who are now worried they could become personal targets of the world's richest man. I'm going to come back to you on that topic, but first I want to go to my colleague Hadas Gold on this. So this is all coming after Elon Musk publicized the names of federal employees and their roles and even their pay in some cases, putting some of that information online. Hadas Gold joining me now with more of her reporting. So the fact that this information was put out there, Elon Musk putting it out, what happened to these employees?
Well, I mean, they're getting a torrent of negative posts, and we don't know what else they may be receiving privately from Elon Musk's legions of followers. You know, federal employees know that likely a lot of job cuts are coming as part of this effort to try and make the government more efficient, being led by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. Some of them even support this effort, saying, you know, great, let's do it. Let's make government more efficient. There might be some job losses. But now there is a new fear unlocked after last week when Elon Musk reposted a post from an anonymous account that was posting screen grabs from a publicly available database of federal employees. But in these screen grabs include the names, the titles, and the city of some federal government workers. Now, the person who was posting this was kind of making fun of these jobs, saying, why do they exist? These are titles like Director of Climate Diversification, Senior Advisor on Environmental Justice and Climate Change. They were all climate-related jobs. Elon Musk reposted some of these posts and commented things like so many fake jobs. But whatever you think of what these jobs do and whether they should be funded by the federal government, these are otherwise private individuals. These are not necessarily public-facing roles. None of these people are spokespeople for these agencies. And so now there is a fear from federal government employees that this could happen to them as well, and what could happen in the aftermath. Because Elon Musk has done this before. He has publicly gone after individuals in the past, often on X, or what was then Twitter. I spoke to some of these people, and some of them have told me that in the aftermath of being targeted by Elon Musk, they were getting threats, some of them death threats. They had to temporarily leave their homes. Some of them eventually just moved permanently. We are hearing from the representatives of federal government, the union that represent them, saying that these tactics are aimed at sowing terror and fear at federal employees. And Erica, something else really stunning that I discovered while reporting this is I reached out to experts on cyber harassment, trying to get their point of view on this. And two of them specifically declined to speak to me on the record and give their names because they themselves were fearful of becoming the next target of Elon Musk's. Now, Renee Marsh, our colleague, did speak to Vivek Ramaswamy on this, and he said, our opponent is not any particular individual. He said, our opponent is the bureaucracy. We did not hear back from X or Elon Musk when he reached out for comment.
I am really struck by that in your reporting that these experts were afraid to speak out because they feared being on the receiving end of this from Elon Musk. As you noted, he's done it before, but he's also criticized the practice, hasn't he?
He has. I mean, if you remember, there was a few years ago, there was a young man named Jack Sweeney. I actually spoke to him, and he had the account called Elon Jets that tracked publicly available data of Elon Musk's private airplane and where it was going. And Elon Musk went after him, took his account down, took journalists, including our colleague Donny O'Sullivan's accounts down, who reported on this, saying that it was a threat to his family, a threat to his safety, even though this is technically publicly available data. Now, ironically, that is sort of what Elon Musk is doing right now, because that information that he posted, it is publicly available data, but these are private individuals, and he just put their names completely on blast.
Yeah, it is really something. Hadass Gold, glad you're on the story for us. Thank you. Annie McCabe is still with us. So when you look at this, Annie, in terms of what Hadass laid out for us here, when you are this private citizen, sure, that information may be publicly available, but it's far different when Elon Musk is blasting it out. Is there any sort of protection or recourse for people like this?
You know, Erica, probably not. It's a tough situation. So unlike the swatting we were talking about a few minutes ago, that is specifically illegal. There are laws that address it. There's not really statutes that criminalize the irresponsible things that Elon Musk is now doing with these people's identity. There could be Privacy Act implications, but that's probably unlikely. The information about salary of particular government positions and things like that, that's all, as you mentioned, publicly available information. Nevertheless, when working in government, we go to great lengths to keep the personal identities of people in those positions concealed, or at least we keep them out of things like public filings for exactly this reason. Those folks are entitled to their privacy, and it could provoke this sort of attention that's really can be threatening and awful for people to go through. Elon Musk obviously hasn't exercised that same level of discretion here. And it's very different when you do it from a position like his, in which he has millions and millions of rabid followers who listen to and read everything he says and writes, and sometimes we've seen take action on those missives. So yeah, it's really irresponsible. It's super unfortunate, but I doesn't probably rise to the level of criminal illegality.
Andrew McCabe, always appreciate your insight, your expertise here. Thank you.